Can anyone become a Buddha? Myth or truth? Understanding Buddhahood. The concept of Buddhahood, that ultimate state of enlightenment, often sparks curiosity and questions. Is it a destination reserved for a select few? Or is it a potential inherent within all beings? To truly understand this, we must first delve into the core teachings of the Buddha himself, Siddhartha Gautama, also known as Shakyamuni Buddha. He didn't present himself as a god or a savior, but as someone who had walked the path to enlightenment and then showed that path to others. His words are not commands, but rather guideposts on our own individual journeys. He often emphasized the importance of personal experience and verification, encouraging us not to blindly accept, but to investigate and realize the truth for ourselves. He said that he is only a teacher who shows the way. The heart of this understanding is the idea of Buddha nature. The Tathagatagarbha Sutra speaks volumes here, stating that all beings possess Buddha nature. This isn't just a nice thought. It's a powerful statement about the potential we all carry. It doesn't mean we are all Buddhas right now, but that the seed of Buddhahood, the possibility for complete wisdom and compassion, is there within each of us. Think of it like a seed that needs care and cultivation through practice, understanding, and letting go of the limitations we put on ourselves. To get a clearer picture, it's helpful to know about the three bodies of a Buddha: the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. The Dharmakaya is like the body of truth itself, the ultimate reality beyond any form or description. It's the ground of everything, the source of all things, and where they all return. The Sambhogakaya is the body of bliss. It's how a Buddha appears in a heavenly realm to teach and guide those who are ready to receive it. It's enlightenment expressed in a way that can be understood. Then there's the Nirmanakaya, the body of transformation. This is how a Buddha appears in the world, in a physical form, to teach and help everyone. This is the form that Shakyamuni Buddha took when he lived on earth. These aren't separate things, but different ways of understanding the same underlying reality of Buddhahood. When we talk about Buddhahood, we also need to understand that there are different levels of awakening. A Samyak Sambuddha, often just called a Buddha, is someone who has reached complete and perfect awakening, fully realizing their potential. This is the highest level, and it comes with the ability to guide others to freedom. A Pratyeka Buddha, sometimes called a silent Buddha, is someone who achieves awakening on their own, without a teacher, but they don't have the same ability to teach others. An Arhat is someone who has become free from suffering by following the path taught by a Buddha, but they don't have the same level of wisdom and compassion. These differences are important because they help us see the nuances of spiritual realization and the different ways people contribute to the Buddhist community. And what about those who have done terrible things? Do they have the potential? Absolutely. The story of Devadatta from the Lotus Sutra shows us this. Devadatta was the Buddha's cousin, who tried to harm the Buddha and create division in the community. He did many harmful actions, yet the Lotus Sutra tells us that even someone like him, despite his actions, has the potential to become a Buddha in the future. This story isn't about saying bad actions are okay, but it highlights that Buddha nature is so powerful that no action, no matter how terrible, can completely destroy it. It's about the limitless compassion and the potential for change that are at the heart of Buddha's teachings. It makes it clear that the path to Buddhahood is open to everyone. The universal Buddha nature. So, We've talked about the idea of Buddha nature, that seed of potential within each of us. But how does this play out in the bigger picture of Buddhist teachings? Is it just a nice concept? Or is it a fundamental truth that shapes the entire path to awakening? This is where the idea of a universal Buddha nature becomes really interesting. It's not just about the idea itself, but how it's been explored and understood in different Buddhist traditions, and how it relates to the practical path to enlightenment. The concept of Buddha Dhatu, which translates to Buddha element, or Buddha nature, is a core idea across different Buddhist traditions, though it's understood in slightly different ways. In some traditions, it's seen as a kind of innate purity, a kind of original mind that is always there, untouched by our everyday thoughts and emotions. In other traditions, it's seen more as a potential, something that needs to be cultivated and brought to light through practice. However, the core idea is consistent. We all have the capacity for awakening. It's not something we need to gain from the outside, but something we need to uncover from within. It's like the potential for a tree is already in the seed, even though it hasn't grown into a tree yet. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra is a really important text that talks about this inherent enlightenment. It emphasizes that the Buddha nature is not something that appears at some distant point in the future, but that it's always present. It's like saying that the sun is always there, even when it's hidden behind the clouds. This means that the possibility for enlightenment isn't something that only some people have, or something that appears only at the end of a long, difficult path. It's already here, within us, waiting to be realized. The sutra teaches that enlightenment is not something we become, but something we uncover, something we realize. And the way we understand this isn't just based on theory, it's also based on practice and stories that show the Buddha's own journey. The Jataka tales, for example, tell the stories of the Buddha's previous lives. These aren't just nice stories. They show us that the Buddha himself went through many different lives, in many different forms, gradually developing the qualities of wisdom and compassion that led to his enlightenment. These stories are powerful examples that show the process of how the Buddha nature can be refined and perfected over many lifetimes. It tells us that enlightenment is not a one-time achievement, but a long journey of transformation. One story that really shows this transformation is the story of Angulimala. Angulimala was a murderer who collected fingers from his victims. He was known as a brutal and terrifying figure. When the Buddha encountered Angulimala, he didn't condemn him, but instead used his wisdom and compassion to guide him towards awakening. Angulimala eventually became a devoted follower of the Buddha and an enlightened being. It's an amazing story about how even someone who has done terrible things can transform themselves completely. It demonstrates that Buddha nature is so powerful that even the worst actions cannot destroy it. It's a real example of the transformative power of the Buddha's teachings and the universal potential for change. At the heart of this idea of Buddha nature is understanding emptiness, or sunyata. Emptiness, in this context, doesn't mean that nothing exists. It means that things don't have an inherent, fixed identity on their own. They arise and pass away, depending on conditions. Understanding this allows us to see beyond the illusion of a fixed self and to connect with our underlying Buddha nature, which is free from all limitations. It's like recognizing that the ocean is made of water, and the waves are just different expressions of that water. The same is true with our Buddha nature. It's the underlying reality of existence and the basis of our inherent potential for enlightenment. This understanding of the universal Buddha nature is really important. It gives us hope, and it shows us that the path to awakening is open to everyone. It's not just a philosophical idea, but a call to action. It encourages us to look within, to cultivate wisdom and compassion, and to realize our own inherent potential for enlightenment. It's the understanding that we are all interconnected and that the awakening of each of us contributes to the awakening of all. Conditions for awakening. We've explored this incredible notion of everyone possessing Buddha nature, that inherent potential for complete awakening. However, recognizing its presence is one thing. Actually realizing it is quite another, isn't it? It's akin to understanding you have the capacity to run a marathon, yet still needing dedicated training and preparation. This brings us to the pivotal question. What conditions are necessary to awaken that Buddha nature within us? It isn't a matter of simply flipping a switch. Rather, it's a journey that involves cultivating specific qualities and making conscious choices. A vital condition for awakening is the cultivation of bodhicitta, often translated as the mind of enlightenment. This goes beyond merely desiring enlightenment for oneself. It involves developing a genuine aspiration for all beings to be liberated from suffering. Picture it as a profound, heartfelt wish to aid others, not solely because it's the correct action, but because you recognize the interconnectedness of all life. Bodhicitta serves as the engine driving us along the path. It sustains us through challenges and provides meaning to the journey. It's not just a fleeting thought. It's a deep-seated feeling, an aspiration originating from within. Moreover, we need to cultivate the 6 paramitas, frequently referred to as the 6 perfections. Think of these as the essential skills or tools necessary for the journey. First, there's dana, or generosity. This extends beyond material giving. It encompasses offering our time, energy, and compassion to others. It's about having an open heart and a willingness to share what we possess. Next is sila, or ethical conduct. This involves living in a way that avoids harming others, being honest, and acting responsibly. Then comes ksanti, or patience. This is about enduring difficulties without succumbing to anger or discouragement. It's about accepting that the path isn't always smooth and that setbacks are simply part of the process. Fourth is virya, or enthusiastic effort. This is about consistently striving for growth and development, and not giving up when faced with challenges. Then there is dhyana, or meditation. This is about training our minds to be calm and focused, enabling us to perceive things more clearly. Finally, there's prajna, or wisdom. This is about understanding the true nature of reality. These 6 paramitas are like a guide, providing a practical way of living a meaningful life that helps us uncover our Buddha nature. The story of Siddhartha's 6 years of spiritual practice offers a powerful illustration of this. He endured intense self-discipline, fasting, meditating, pushing himself to the limits, which ultimately highlighted the importance of finding balance. He realized that extreme practices alone were not the answer. He needed to discover the middle way. The middle way is about avoiding extremes. It's about finding a balanced approach in all areas of our lives, neither indulging in excessive pleasure nor engaging in excessive self-denial. It's about finding a sustainable way of living and practicing that supports our growth without harming ourselves or others. It's like walking on a tightrope. Leaning too far either way is not sustainable. And on this path, having spiritual friends, or kalyana mitra, is really beneficial. These are individuals who provide support and encouragement along our journey. They might be teachers, mentors, or even just friends who share our values and aspirations. Having Kalyana Mitra is like having a support team. They can offer guidance when we feel lost, provide encouragement when we feel discouraged, and offer accountability when we need a push. It's about surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us to grow and who remind us of the potential that lies within us. They help us to stay focused on the path and to learn from each other's experiences. The conditions for awakening are not a mere checklist of tasks, but a way of living that integrates wisdom, compassion, and consistent effort. It's about cultivating a deep desire to assist others, developing the necessary skills and tools, finding balance in our lives, and surrounding ourselves with supportive companions. It's about transforming ourselves internally, and through that process, realizing our inherent Buddha nature. The journey to awakening may not be easy, but it's a journey worth undertaking, not only for ourselves but for the benefit of all. Common misconceptions. Now that we've explored the potential for awakening and the conditions that help us get there, it's also important to address some of the common misconceptions that often surround the idea of Buddhahood. These misunderstandings can sometimes create obstacles or confusion on the path, so let's try to clear some of them up. It's like when you're trying to follow a map, but some of the road signs are misleading. You might end up going in the wrong direction. One widespread misconception is the belief that only monks can reach Buddhahood. This idea often arises from the traditional image of monastic life, with its focus on study and meditation. While monastic life can certainly provide a supportive environment for practice, it's not the only path to awakening. The Buddha himself taught that enlightenment is available to anyone, regardless of their lifestyle. It's about the inner transformation, not just the outer appearance or circumstances. Think of it like this. A garden can grow in many different settings, whether it's a carefully tended garden or a wild open field. What matters is the seed and the care it receives, not where it's planted. Another misconception involves ideas about gender and spiritual attainment. There's this mistaken belief that women are somehow less capable of achieving enlightenment than men. This idea is completely contrary to the teachings of the Buddha. The Lotus Sutra includes the story of the Dragon King's daughter, who, in a single moment, transforms into a male bodhisattva and achieves enlightenment. This story is a powerful example that shows that the potential for Buddhahood is not limited by gender. It's about the depth of our practice, the strength of our compassion, and the wisdom we gain, not about the body we were born into. The story is like a signpost saying, "Path is open to everyone." Then there's the idea of instant enlightenment, that you can suddenly become a Buddha in a single moment. While there are stories of people having profound experiences that lead to significant breakthroughs, the path to awakening is generally understood as a gradual process of cultivation. It's like learning a new skill. It takes time, effort, and patience. The Buddha himself spent many years practicing before he reached enlightenment. We see in the Avatamsaka Sutra a teaching that highlights the idea of gradual cultivation, where we go through stages of growth. This idea is like saying that a tree doesn't grow overnight. It needs time, sunlight, and water. Another thing to understand is the relationship between merit and wisdom. It's a common misunderstanding to think that one is more important than the other. But the truth is that they are complementary factors. Merit, which comes from doing good deeds, creates positive conditions for practice. Wisdom, which comes from understanding the true nature of reality, allows us to realize our potential. It's like having two wings on a bird. Both are necessary for it to fly. Neither can be ignored. Both need to be developed. Finally, it's a common idea that only monks can be enlightened. But we have the powerful story of Vimalakirti, the enlightened layman. Vimalakirti wasn't a monk. He was a successful businessman, a householder who lived a very active life. Yet he was known for his profound wisdom and insight. He was a master of debate and a well-respected figure in his community. Vimalakirti was not someone who retreated from the world to pursue enlightenment. Instead, he demonstrated that one could be fully engaged in everyday life, with family, with work, with community, and still attain deep spiritual realization. He challenged many assumptions about who could attain Buddhahood. He showed that enlightenment is not limited to a particular lifestyle or a set of external conditions. His story proves that enlightenment can be achieved in the midst of everyday life, and that the real work is done in the heart and mind, not just in a monastery. Vimalakirti was like a living example of the possibility of enlightenment in everyday life. His life was like a reminder that enlightenment is not some distant goal only attainable in some perfect circumstance, but a possibility that exists in the very moment, regardless of our circumstances. Addressing these misconceptions is a really important step in our journey. It allows us to see the path more clearly, and it helps us to avoid getting stuck on ideas that are not in line with the true teachings. By understanding these common misunderstandings, we can move forward with more confidence and clarity on our journey to awakening. Practical steps toward enlightenment. We've talked a lot about the theory, the potential, the misconceptions, and the conditions for awakening. Now, let's get down to the practical side of things. How can we actually integrate this understanding into our lives and start cultivating our Buddha nature on a daily basis? It's one thing to know that we have the potential, but it's another thing to actually nurture that potential and make it a reality. It's like knowing you have the potential to make a beautiful piece of art, but you still need to practice and develop your skills. One of the most important things we can do is to establish daily practices that support our growth. This could include things like meditation, mindfulness, and reflection. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind, but about becoming more aware of your thoughts and emotions without getting carried away by them. Mindfulness is about bringing your attention to the present moment, noticing what's happening around you and inside you without judgment. Reflection is about taking time to contemplate the teachings and to examine our own behavior. These are like the daily exercises that help us to strengthen our mind and to cultivate our inner qualities. They don't have to be long or complicated. Even a few minutes each day can make a big difference. The significance of meditation and mindfulness cannot be overstated. They are like a mirror that helps us to see ourselves more clearly. Meditation helps us to calm our minds and to develop concentration. It allows us to see our thoughts and emotions as they arise, without being controlled by them. Mindfulness helps us to be more present in our lives and to appreciate the simple things. It allows us to be more aware of our actions and to make more conscious choices. These practices are not just something we do on a cushion. They are something we can bring into all aspects of our lives. The Avatamsaka Sutra provides profound teachings on the importance of gradual cultivation. It highlights the idea that the path to enlightenment is not a sprint, but a marathon. It's not about trying to change everything all at once, but about making small, consistent efforts over time. It's like growing a garden. It takes time, patience, and consistent care. We need to plant the seeds of wisdom and compassion, water them regularly with our practice, and allow them to grow at their own pace. This sutra reminds us that even the smallest steps we take on the path are meaningful and that every effort counts. It's also really inspiring to look at real-life examples of contemporary practitioners who are integrating these Buddhist principles into their modern lives. You might see people who are using mindfulness to manage stress, who are practicing compassion in their relationships, or who are dedicating their time to helping others. These are people who are showing us that the path to awakening is not just something that happened in the past, but a living possibility that is available to us here and now. They're examples that we can all follow. They show that it's possible to live a life of purpose, compassion, and wisdom, even in the midst of the challenges of modern life. Finally, integrating Buddhist wisdom into our modern lives is not about becoming a monk or abandoning our responsibilities. It's about bringing the qualities of wisdom and compassion into all that we do. It's about being more mindful in our interactions, more generous in our actions, and more patient in our relationships. It's about finding ways to live a life that is both meaningful and beneficial to ourselves and others. It's about remembering that the path to awakening is not something that exists separate from our lives. It's something we walk each and every day in every action we take. These practical steps are not a magic formula for instant enlightenment, but they are the tools and practices that can help us nurture our Buddha nature and realize our full potential. It's about making a commitment to ourselves and to the path, and about taking the first steps with courage and compassion. The journey to awakening is a lifelong process, but it is a journey that is open to everyone, and that is worth taking.